Welcome to my setup tour. So my overall setup is pretty basic. Like I have two tables kept over here. It's like a very common, you can sort of like say Indian household side table kind of situation going on. So this one is wider obviously, as you guys can see, and the other one on that side is a little shorter in terms of height. And I'm a fairly tall guy, I'm 6'2", so I prefer sitting on this one because that one seems a little too short. And also there's like no leg room to, play around with. Before that I used to kind of like sit on the dining table, but the dining table used to sort of like get very cluttered because I have my books and stuff. This one has a lot of space to keep a bunch of stuff that I use every day, like cameras, camera gear, like tripods and a bunch of stuff. Also, I have two drawers over here, then I keep my books over there, also on that side. So let's start with more of, what's the tech gear sitting over here. So if I talk about this main desk situation, this is like a fake plant. This is an old fake plant that was sitting in my house. These are a bunch of books. Most of them I was reading, like for example, I was reading Sapiens, I was reading this Daily Stoic and Marcus Aurelius one. Rest of them are kind of like kept over here. These are the common books that I like to read here and there just a little bit. Then moving to that side, I have a keyboard. This is, I would say, the cheapest usable Logitech keyboard. It goes by the name of Logitech K120, and obviously I'll put the price of everything in the description down below, but you can go and check it out. Everything about the setup, and this is a cool thing about the setup, everything about the setup is budget friendly. Nothing about the setup is kind of like crazy expensive. I'm no MKBHD, I'm no Peter McKinnon, none of this stuff is like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's fairly budget friendly. It's a student, kind of like setup in that particular end. It's fairly budget friendly. So this particular keyboard that you're looking at right now, it's a normal keyboard. It's not even mechanical, no RGB lighting, no white light, nothing. I just use it because I don't want to use the keyboard of my laptop, because if for some weird reason I mess up the keyboard of my laptop, I have to go through like warranty replacement, all that kind of stuff. I bought it for like, I don't know, like 600 rupees. You can buy it off of Amazon for less than 1,000. Then I have this mouse. This is a very popular mouse. A lot of gamers use it. This is the Logitech's G402. It sells about $30 to $40. Here in India, I bought it for 2,000 rupees. It is worth every single penny, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even kidding. It has like, if I bring you guys over here, it has 5 side buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's a pretty sturdy mouse. The ergonomics on this mouse are excellent. I've never had even a single problem ever since I bought this particular mouse, like no problem whatsoever. Then on this side, I have a Wacom tablet. It was not actually mine. My brother used to use it because he was like into animation and stuff. But since he is not like using it, I kept it permanently over here. I myself don't use it that often. It's their most cheapest one, you can say. It runs around for like 3,000 something rupees. I bought it on a deal for like 3,400 back in the day. Now it sells even cheaper than that. You can buy it for like 2,900, something like that. It has about a 6.57 inch screen. No, it's not a screen, it's a pad basically. You have this stylus. The best thing that I like about this particular Wacom tablet is this particular pen. A lot of my friends have like iPads and stuff. First of all, the iPad pencil is super expensive. Like the Apple pencil runs around for like $11,000-12,000 here in India, and in the US it's like $130. It's not expensive at all. And the best part about this pencil is the fact that you don't need to charge it. It's static. It just works flawlessly on top of that. So I just don't have any problems. And I kind of like fixed it on top of a mobile stand. It's a mobile stand if you can see it, but most people won't notice it. Okay, so since I kind of like unpacked this, there's a hard disk sitting beside it. Even though my laptop has a bunch of hard drives, but this is a, I think, Western Digital 1 terabyte hard drive. I bought it back in the day for, I would say 3,800, less than 4,000 rupees. It's a 1 terabyte hard drive. It has a pretty decent read and write speed. So I don't remember the exact specs of that particular hard drive, but as far as, I can recall, it's pretty good. Like when I transfer files, it does over 100 megabytes per second. So I think it's pretty decent. Not SSD level speed, but it gets the job done for me. Then I have a bunch of speakers. I actually have a surround sound system 5.1 over here. This used to be back in the day. I don't even remember when I bought it. It's like fairly old. It's like 7-8 years old, I would say. This used to be hooked up with my computer that we sold last year, about this time only, like September-ish. It has like 5 speakers. This is a subwoofer, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 speakers. It gets the job pretty much. Like if I play some audio, and I'm not gonna play it for long because I can get copyright and stuff. Like I was listening to Jack Harlow. That's it. That's all you get. Otherwise, I'll get copyrighted and stuff. But the audio on this one is pretty good. I have that remote sitting just behind the keyboard, so you guys can basically not see it, I just want my setup to be as minimalistic as possible, even though it's a mess, and I'll show you the mess in a second. Then I have the earphones. Because I'm not using the speakers all the time, I need earphones. So it's kind of like packed in pretty neat and tidy. These are both earphones. This is a pretty popular brand here in India. I bought it for like, these are like 600-700 rupees here in India. It's a wired one, pretty basic, nothing too fancy about it. I just don't like using wireless ones. Like for example, if I go over here, I have a wireless headphone over here. Then also behind this, not a lot of people would know it, like I have another headphone pair over here as well. But since I don't like using wireless headphones all the time, I like wired input, because if you know me in person, like I have figured out voice meter banana and stuff. So I don't like to play around with wireless headphones that much because it's a hassle. So I have the cheapest ones that I found on Amazon that sounded okay. Like I just don't want it to be fancy and I just don't want it to be trash. So that's about that. Then jumping onto the monitor, which I think you would be waiting at this point. It's Gigabyte's 27F. This is an excellent monitor. It's a 27-inch monitor. It is 144 Hz refresh rate. Beautiful. It has, I think, FreeSync. It doesn't have NVIDIA G-Sync, but since I'm not a gamer, I just don't care about it. But the best part about this monitor is the fact that it is 125% sRGB and 94% DCP-IP color gamut ratio. That means this particular monitor is super color accurate. And just to show you guys, like for example, and full disclosure, I don't know how much of that you can see on the camera because you're looking at footage from a camera which is color graded, did a bunch of stuff inside the editing software, then you're looking at through your screen. So I don't know how much difference you can notice, but because I'm looking from my bare eyes, naked eyes, I can see a lot of that difference. So for example, if I sort of like extend this screen, this is a talking head situation. If I extend this screen and I send this file to over there, just see the difference. Like left, you can see the skin tones. Over there, it's like just washed out. It's just washed out. Like that's the level of difference between this monitor, which is like 125% sRGB, versus this one, which is about 70% sRGB because this is a gaming laptop. Also, just to blow your mind, let's say if I show you the wallpaper over here, you guys can see the purple side of the thing over here, but over there, it's nothing. I mean, you guys can't even see it. This is just bluish. That's it. And over here, it's complete purple, magenta, violet kind of shade. So I mean, there's a plethora of difference as far as color, sRGB kind of like stuff is concerned. And it kind of like bothers me a lot because, like for example, if I open up DaVinci and I go to the color page over here, I'm not like crazy into coloring. Like I'm not a professional colorist, but I do a fair bit of color grading. Like you can see, this is before and this is after. I kind of like do the bare minimum color correction, kind of like mess with. If you have been on Premiere, you have like lumetri scopes on that. I don't go crazy with color grading, but I need it. So then the main thing on this setup is this machine, obviously. So I bought this particular laptop back in 2020, August of 2020. This is Asus TUF A15. It's a pretty good laptop. It has had its own issues since then, but I bought it for, I would say, it sells in the US for a little less than $1,400. Here in India, as far as I remember, I bought it for 98,000 rupees. This one is a pretty good laptop. Like this has 4000 series was there back in the day. It was the latest series. It has Ryzen 9 4000 series. Awesome. Never had an issue with that. You know, RGB keyboard, for those of you gamers out there, you can kind of like mess around with it. It has a bunch of features to play around with, but as far as the tech specs are concerned, it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, 3200 megahertz. By default, it came with a 256 gigabyte SSD and a 1 terabyte HDD. But since I wanted more storage, as kind of like time went by, I added another 500 gigabyte SSD because it had an extra NVMe M.2 slot. So now it has two SSDs, 256 gigabytes and 500 gigabytes and a terabyte worth of hard disk. And as far as the graphics card is concerned, it has 1660 Ti, NVIDIA 1660 Ti. Now it's just a grandfather, like, you know, it's some old stuff. You have the 4000 series rolling in, like you have the latest and greatest graphics card. But as far as my editing stuff is concerned, it has held up pretty good. At points when I'm kind of like doing a bunch of noise reduction stuff in 4K, I feel like I need a better system. But as far as the overall editing process and everything is concerned, it has held up pretty good since then. And the best part about owning a gaming laptop is the fact that it has a plethora of ports. Like there's just ports all over. Like I have this USB-C port that is empty, except that all of them are just occupied. Like, you know, this is for the hard disk. This goes behind the monitor to kind of like connect the keyboard and mouse, which further goes to the monitor. And I even have a USB hub behind it, which has like 4 sockets. You guys can see it. I will show you all of that in a second. Then this is for HDMI monitor input. This is the Ethernet. I'll explain that Ethernet situation in a second. This is a charging cable. Behind that, it's pretty still neat and tidy. I know where all the wires and stuff are going. This is the adapter for the monitor. This is the, you know, power input for the laptop. Then I have this power situation going on, you know, a bunch of that kind of stuff. There's even a socket that's free. You know, I can mess with it at a certain point of time. But talking about the Ethernet situation, some of you guys would be like wondering, whoa, why do you have an Ethernet? There's no Wi-Fi modem stuff going on in here, but why do you have an Ethernet? Great question. And this will actually blow your skull off. I'll show you that in a sec. If you see this ugly little wire passing from this side, some of you guys, this ugly little wire that's going on, some of you guys would be like, what's that meant for? As you guys can see, I have two laptops. This is my laptop and this is my brother's laptop. What sometimes happens is like I'm recording a podcast with UV on this laptop, and I just want to use this because this laptop has RTX in it, and you know the benefits of RTX, like it cleans your audio. If you want a green screen instantly, it does all that kind of stuff by itself. And like I sometimes use it as like a render machine or a renderer, you can say. Like I'm working on a project on this particular system, but after a particular point of time, I'm like, hey, I just want to work on another project and I don't have time to work because this is rendering. But what I can do is since I have a local area network that I've set over with this Ethernet wire, it's not currently plugged in because I'm not doing anything. I can render that footage that I was doing over there on this machine. Boom, mind blown. So that's what I use it for. Now, if you talk about this particular laptop, this is my brother's laptop. I don't own it, but this laptop has a Ryzen 5 5000 series. It has RTX 3050. It has a 16-inch display, slightly bigger than that particular laptop, but it's almost equivalent. You can barely tell the difference. And it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, not 16. So I don't prefer editing on this particular machine, but it has like that clickety clack, you know, chiclet style keyboard. So I prefer a bunch of coding. Like it has better battery life. The battery life on my main laptop it's just piece of shit. It's just crap. You can barely use it for an hour and the brightness goes super dim, so you cannot use it. So I like this one. Also for like gaming and stuff, I used to prefer that one because that has 144 Hz of refresh rate. This has 60. So it also eats up less battery because it's 60, even though you can like change it in settings and stuff. But I prefer it for like more mobile purposes. Then moving on this side of the spectrum, I have a very basic tripod setup situation going on. I have this tripod that I bought off Amazon. This is like $20 or something. Here in India, I bought it for like 1,000 rupees. It's a pretty sturdy tripod. I will be swapping it with my older tripod because I'm gonna use it. If I film outside, I'll buy a new one. Let's see how that goes. But this is a very basic light. So this is like the cheapest ring light that I could buy back in the day. I would be upgrading it at some point next year, I think so. But this held up pretty great. This room is fairly brightly lit. I have 3 lights over here, one over there, one over there, one over here. And sometimes if I'm recording from that side, the backlight from the monitor also hits me up. Kind of like works as a hair light. So I don't have lighting problems over here, but I still have a tripod situation going on. Like for example, right now I'm filming at night. So I don't think it's like a big problem for me. But sometimes the lighting situation is not sufficient enough. So for that, I have the tripod. Then also I have like the power situation going on. All the wires are neat and clean. This is for my charging my phone. My phone is kept over here on a mobile stand. Then the power situation, you know, this just to juice it up. Then I have charger for the normal charger for charging up my headphones and a bunch of stuff, which is not USB-C. It's Logitech M185. It's a pretty decent wireless mouse in case I want to use it. Since I use this laptop on mobile purposes, I prefer using this particular mouse. So I guess this is pretty much everything that my setup has. There's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff as well. Like I have this notebook that's kept over here if I want to like write something. Also, like if I, you know, this desk situation is pretty clean, even though I would probably blur it because I don't want to show what's inside of it for privacy reasons, obviously. And in case for those of you guys who care about the cable management situation, just look at this. Just look at this. I know some of you guys would just go absolutely crazy and go just vomit and stuff. I try to make sure that the cable situation is not horrendous. It doesn't look bad. But the thing that I've done is I've made sure at least I don't have to deal with the cables. Like the cables are on the back side. I don't have to look at the cables because I just don't want to look at the cables. It makes the setup ugly and I just don't like it. I don't know how to put like the cosmetic stuff. I don't know how to put it. Some people are like crazy about RGB. Like they would just turn on RGB for absolutely no reason. I just don't do it because I think it's stupid. I don't like RGB unless I'm gaming. In that moment, just for the formality stuff, I just turn it on. Otherwise, this is a pretty basic setup. It's very functional as far as recording YouTube videos are concerned. That's it. I think this is pretty much it as far as the entire setup situation is concerned. I hope this would give you a fair bit of inspiration to make your own setup, because when you go out there on the internet, you look at people like Ali Abdal, MKBHD, Peter McKenna. Those guys seem to have like infinite money as far as building a setup is concerned. But this setup, I hope in certain sense would have given you inspiration to build a setup for you yourself. I think this particular video is pretty much it from my side. I hope you guys like this video. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching.